All right. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Are we all set, Madam Administrator? Very good. So with us, we're gonna pop right into the transportation public hearings and starting with the Department of Motor Vehicles. Commissioner, are you all ready?
I am all set. Ready
All
when
right,
you are.
sir.
Well, first of all, good afternoon, Senator Austin, Representative Walker, Senator Hartley, Representative Exum, and Representative Paris, Senator Bertha, and Representative Nuccio, and members of this great Appropriations Committee. My name is Tony Guerrero, Commissioner of DMV. I want to thank you for this invitation to appear before you today. I've submitted a written statement and I will take questions. And I know our time is very valuable, both for you and for us here. And I just want to make a few comments, and I just want to say that I'm grateful to Governor Lamont and also all of you for your commitment to DMV and backing us up when we needed it. I think you will see testimonies from the public, from legislators, to everyone, the difference that this agency has made over the last 4 to 5 years. And it's not just because of DMV and our great employees, but it's a collaborative effort amongst government, state officials, and all of us. So with that said, I just truly want to say thank you for all your support.
Thank you. Commissioner, I don't really have any questions relative to your budget. I just want to let you know that I had a conversation, as many of our colleagues did, on the the technology change to and I am generally not in favor of that. I expressed my concerns relative to that. So I just want to let you know that. I have one policy question for you. We have someone in the audience who who I've been working with for years on stretcher vans, which are a certain way to transport people who are in the prone position on a semi-permanent or permanent basis, but don't have anything wrong other than medical. And I have had an opportunity this over the last year to go visit a number of medical places, in particular those that do dialysis, that have clients that come in that really need transport that is not necessarily ambulance in nature. And it's really for me, it's a disability rights issue. And a lot of people cannot afford the ambulance, don't need the ambulance, right, but really need just a transport in the prone position because of their respective long-term issues. Do you have any reason that you know of and I know I'm asking you something off the top of my head, reason why we would not want to do that? I mean, it keeps getting shot down, but it did pass into law for a very short time frame, and then had the ambulance companies really came out against it, and so it reverted. But because we're seeing a shortage of ambulance companies, I'm trying to revisit it this year. If I don't get it revisited this year, hopefully I can revisit it next year.
Senator Austin, thank you for that question. And I too believe that however we can help people with disabilities or need rides and so forth, I think we should step up to the plate. So I'd be more than willing to sit with you or members of your committee to talk about this. It's an important issue. You know, let's talk about why the ambulances were against it, so forth. I kind of an idea why they might be against it, but this is a bigger picture in regards to how do we support the needy out there and how do we do that in a way that's fair for everyone.
Thank you. Representative Walker?
Thank you, and great to see you, Commissioner. Great to see you. Thank you for all your work and for your organizations, or your agency, I should say, your agency's real commitment to trying to make things easier and better for people in keeping themselves legal, keeping all their licenses in order, and all the other things that are necessary for them to operate motor vehicles, et cetera. Yes, Senator Austin referred to the IT I think they call it modernization. I'm not sure what, they have another word, optimization or something like that. I don't know. And we talked about that today with Department of Administrative Services. I think that many of us have concerns because we know how important IT is for operations for certain agencies. I mean, there are some agencies that function directly with their IT system. That's where their heartbeat comes from. And I remember, what was it, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, when we first started, when we did the modernization in DMV, and how it was almost like once the modernization went into effect, it was like a light bulb went off. And people who said, I hate going to the DMV, said, I've got to go to the DMV. I'm excited. I mean, it was really that much of a change. So I'm trying to understand how dependent your agency is to an IT system. I mean, are the functions, the major functions that you do are totally related to the IT system. In order for you to do what you do now after the modernization, it's all predicated on the control and the expansion that you guys have done with IT. Can you talk a little bit about it? Can you help me
Sure.
with that?
Sure. Thank you for that question, Representative Walker. And first, let me just say happy birthday, by the way.
Thank
I want to make sure I got that out there quick. But you bring up some very valid points. And as you know, we do support the governor's budget.
Absolutely.
But we also know that how this is going to work is something that we would have to sit with DAS and IT, because we are a front-facing agency. We are the front door to many of our constituents, and we want to make sure that IT is supported in a way that it should be supported. And we've done that over modernization, right? We've come a long way. And as you can see, the wins that we've accomplished is because all of us put our heads together to make sure that we have the pathway to lead to success. And when this does occur, is that we have to make sure that we, as an agency, are protected because our constituents need to be protected.
Absolutely.
And to make sure that we're doing the right thing. And so how that's going to be crafted is something that we would have to sit with DAS and BITS and go over that step by step.
And the thing that I've noticed over the last few years with DMV, every time I have an experience with DMV, I'm always excited because I can do it online.
Yeah.
It's renewals and everything that every normal person in the state has to do. They no longer have to stand in line like 400 deep to get it done because we can do it through the IT system. And that's why I'm so nervous, because it's not broken. It's not, people are very comfortable with what's going on with the Department of Motor Vehicles. And to say that we're going to move it to another entity and take it away from the base that has brought us this enjoyment of managing our lives is scary. And I know the first thing that will happen is when we do it, we turn it on and it doesn't work. And it shuts down all over the state. I'm terrified because people deserve having the best and easiest way of managing their lives that we can provide. And I look forward to the conversations that we're going to have with DS. And I mean, Commissioner Geller, she's really committed to it, but sometimes we have to think things through a little bit differently and make sure that what we are doing is going to get us to the best place for the people of Connecticut. I mean, I know some of them, my concerns are, some of them are maybe to downsize your offices and everything. Do we need that? That's not something that I have felt, and I think we're doing a good job there. So again, I want to hear the conversations, and I want to hear it both ways. I want to hear what they are proposing, and then I want to hear how it's going to affect your system before I even say that this is feasible. I'm not criticizing anybody. I'm just saying people in Connecticut expect us to make sure that their interests are front and center. So thank you.
No, and thank you, Rich. And you made some valid concerns, and I think those are issues that need to be drawn out to make sure that as an agency that we are comfortable also how this is all going to work. And I'm not saying that it's not going to work. It probably can work, but if it is going to work, how is it going to work to make sure that we have all the right people in the right places? Because as you know, and as many of your colleagues know, I was once up there, and the number one complaint was always from DMV. This governor, this appropriation committee, this transportation committee, legislators funded us to change that. And we have. All right. We changed it in a way that it was probably one of the worst agencies in the state of Connecticut. And I'm sure I'm biased, but I will tell you, to one of the best. I see my employees are much happier. You know, when they come into the office, they don't see a line from the front door to the parking lot. And when they leave, Representative, they don't see a line that they have to take care of every single customer before they get home that might have childcare or whatever it is, taking care of an elderly parent, that they're getting home at 7 o'clock at night when we close the doors at 4:30. Today, it's a different agency. Wherever you want to go, I'm sure who you talk to, it is unbelievable. And that's because of the process and the modernization and the team, the DMV team, that I can't tell you how proud I am of all of them to really bring this to a different level. And we're doing it the right way.
Up next is Representative Rosario, followed by Representative Zawistowski.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good afternoon, Commissioner. Always good to see you, virtually or in person. First of all, I want to echo my colleague's sentiments on the IT issue, but I do have a couple questions, if you can have ready for the work group. One is, I know you guys updated the payment system and want to know how that was going, see if you guys are accepting Apple Pay or other mobile forms of payment. Secondly, I know the inmate IDs, if we can get a number of how many inmates were released with an ID from the Department of Motor Vehicle. I know it probably doesn't originate from your agency, but I know you guys are distributing them. And lastly is on the motor voter issue. I know in Bridgeport, we've had quite a few elections recently, and I've heard from a lot of constituents that they were registered as Democrats, and then they went to go vote. They were unaffiliated, and they had mentioned that they had interface with the Department of Motor Vehicle. So I wasn't sure if that is a technical issue on your side, or you operator error on their part, maybe something on the Secretary of State side. But if you can bring some information on that, I'd gladly appreciate it.
Thank you, Representative Rosario. Always good seeing you, even virtual. I will make sure that those 3 questions have been written, and during our work session, they will be answered for you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you. Up next is Representative Zawistowski.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for being here today, Commissioner. On your budget, the policy revision is provide funding for information technology and modernization to the tune of $3 million. And if you read further, if that consolidation with DAS on IT goes through, $2.5 million will be sent over to DAS. Can you tell me a little bit what this actually entails? We didn't really have any details in the OFA briefing. It says just modernization, IT and modernization program expenses. If you have some details, that'd be helpful.
Absolutely. And thank you for that question, Representative. Good to see you. The $3 million obviously will be for licensings that we have right now, say with ForgeRock, with VMS, with Microsoft, MuleSoft. We have language translations that will be computerized as we've done now. By the way, we went from 11 languages to almost 36, I believe is the number. I might be off 1 or 2.
I remember the transportation bill last year on that.
That's right. Increase in the NADA fees for sales tax calculations. So that $3 million constitutes many of those programs.
Okay, that's helpful. And on your appointment system, what kind of feedback have you been getting from the public on it? I'll just give you a couple of examples. I mean, you have been in our chairs before. The constituents do not hesitate to speak out if they have an issue with DMV. Most of the feedback that I've gotten from people is very, very good, that they're much happier with the way things are running now. But there are some impatient people. who are wondering why they have to wait 2 weeks to return their license plates and get a receipt to set up an appointment for that, whereas you could just usually just punch it in the machine before, show up, punch it in the machine, and it spits out a receipt. So things like that. I'm just trying to get a sense of what your feelings are, how the public is managing with this.
Well, first, thank you for that question. And how do I say this in a way that it's a different generation of DMV representative. I think there are many people that are older, such as I, that might have been used to doing things in a different way. Today, you can go online, you can cancel your plates online. We've instructed all our branches, if people just want to come up, hand in your plates, done deal. You know what I'm saying? And they can do it that way. We've instructed all our branches too, that there are seniors out there that maybe don't know how to go online to make appointments, right? And we said, take the walk-ins, all right? Explain to them that you may not be first in line because we have an appointment, but sit with them and tell them that, listen, once there's a break, we will fit you in, all right? And we've done that. We have gone to even a better appointment system today, Representative, that will text you, all right, 5 minutes in advance before you have to come in. And also, it's real time. So if Representative, you had an appointment today and you canceled out at noon, that goes right back into the queue to have someone else that could pick up that appointment and come right in. It has worked, I have to say, one of the best things we've done as the Department of Motor Vehicles. But we also understand, Representative, is that we just can't say the appointment is everything. All right. And one of the things that we're doing is we have a so-called mobile unit, not necessarily a bus or whatever it is, but now we're going out to senior centers, to municipalities. All right. Sit with them and have the senior centers bring those people in that maybe want to get rid of their license and just do an ID, but do some transactions for those municipalities, 169 municipalities, do it on a rotating basis. Let's go out and meet the public and therefore take care of their issues.
Well, I appreciate that you have the opportunity for people who are not online to be able to just walk in. That's extremely helpful. But I'm not sure what percentage of that population is now, but it's certainly going to be decreasing over time. But either way, well, thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Representative.
Are there any other questions? The world of Zoom. Thank you. We have no other questions right now. You guys are all set.
All right. Thank you very much, and always truly appreciate the team and everyone, your support over the years. Thank you.
Does DOT want to come up now? Or,
I saw Ann go out. She went, huh? She went out to see if her team's here, I think.
okay. Good afternoon.
It's
Just
been
for
a
the
long-
record,
it's been a long-
the commissioner is on a family pre-planned trip. So we have the deputy commissioner here today. And we are not expecting the commissioner to call in. That's correct, right? He is actually
correct.
enjoying the vacation that he so well deserves.
Hopefully.
Okay, very good. All right, if you guys want to just give a couple of words and then we'll ask questions.
Sounds good.
First,
Good
turn on
afternoon.
is your microphone on?
I think that it is.
If
Can you
it
hear
has
me?
that red highlight thing, then it's on.
It's on.
Okay,
And don't forget to identify yourselves.
yeah, go ahead.
Well, good afternoon. Thank you for having us. I'm Leisha King. I'm Deputy Commissioner at the Department of Transportation, and I have with me Gary Pescasolido, our Bureau Chief for Finance and Administration, and we have our other Bureau Chiefs with us as well in case they need to answer any questions from you. So we have submitted written testimony. I can read it if you like, or if you
No.
have it already, we can just summarize.
We don't want you to read it. You don't need to do, we'll go right to questions then.
All right, so just really quick summary of what's in here is there are very minor changes to our budget from last year. Two of them relate to the IT consolidation that we're in support of moving some of our personnel and equipment budget over to DAS. And we'll be working really closely with DAS and OPM to figure out the details of exactly what that will look like. The other change in our budget relates to the installation of ADA ramps, which goes along with the increased transit service that was approved in the previous budget. So we're happy to take any questions.
So for the record, we're not in favor of the IT consolidation, so you may not see that. So please don't spend a lot of time until actually whatever happens, happens, so that you're not wasting time.
Noted.
So on the paratransit, so the federal government expanded the required services, so we're expanding the required services, or we just were below what the required services always were?
Thank you. Gary Pescasolido, Bureau Chief of Finance Administration for DOT. Thank you, Senator Austin. The reality was that there was expanded service in the governor's budget that was approved last year. That increased service, which has now been enacted or is being increased right now, requires an increase to the ADA paratransit budget under the federal regulation, under the rule. So we require an additional $2.2 million to raise the ADA paratransit funding up to the level to match the increased service that was approved last year. In essence, there was an oversight to increasing the ADA budget when we did the increase in the bus services that we had in the budget last year.
Okay.
So this corrects that.
And so we increased what was required and we didn't provide the dollars associated with it.
We increased bus service in several different areas of the state. There was a whole list of increased services that we enacted last year.
Yep.
And when we did that, that increased service required us to have additional ADA paratransit requirements. And we did not increase the budget last year on ADA to meet the increased services that we had in the budget for us.
So because we increased other bus services,
Correct.
there was a federal requirement for us to increase ADA services too, and this
Matches up to
this
that.
trues that up.
Trues it up.
Okay. Are there any questions, Representative Walker?
Thank you and good afternoon and great to see you, Alicia. When they said Alicia, I said, Alicia, I know that name. Good to see you again. Good to see you.
too.
Yes, as my co-chair mentioned, we have concerns about the IT consolidation. I've had the opportunity to come out to your offices and see your operation. I was mesmerized by how much goes on from your operations that is IT related. Monitoring your roads, monitoring your teams out there as they do developing, as they do expansions and evaluations. So having seen that and seeing how important it is, and now I'm looking at, they're talking about moving 46 people from your, from DOT to to DAS, that takes a lot of power out of your team that operates your IT system. Is that correct?
So we are committed to continuing to modernize and invest and put a lot of,
Okay,
Um,
Alicia, I got the story. I got the story.
well, one other quick thing though, is that as we're working with DAS and OPM about how this will actually work,
Uh-huh.
we may keep many of those employees in-house, and it might be budgetary and have better coordination statewide through DAS. It doesn't necessarily mean that all 46 of those employees will be physically moving out of our building. So we think that we'll continue to have great access to them.
The operative word you used was may. That, we've all been on the side of may. Once the ink dries, it's never exactly what we thought it was going to be in the very beginning. And that's what concerns me. You guys have a wonderful system. I mean, one of the things that I saw one time, Senator Austin and I were there, and I think it was a snowstorm or something that we had, and we were getting ready to leave, but I was looking on all your 40,000 screens, and there was somebody that was isolated over in, I don't know where, but you guys were able to identify and zero in on that person and provide them with immediate road service without having anything sort of shaken or changed. And that to me was a security to know that there are eyes on the road and that your team is monitoring the road on a regular basis. But that comes from your IT. I'm not saying that IT modernization, the way it was described to us today, was pretty much about applications and making sure we're all on the same network and all that. That's wonderful. But the team that operates your IT is different than the team that operates DMV, that operates DCF. It's a different team. I'm not a big computer person. My husband is. But I watched and talked to other people about how important is that heartbeat for operations and centralization to make sure that things are operated. So IT modernization is a term. It's just like, I think there was another term. Those are all terms. I look at how an agency functions and how they've changed and modernized and moved in a direction that is what our society is needing for security and operation. It needs, to me, that needs to be in your operations, in your office. The applications and things like that and how you do it, I'm fine with. They can buy the computers, but it's the how you do it and how you work it through your system so that everybody is in operation in the same direction is what I'm looking at. So I'm not there, and I'm going to hear about this, I know, but it scares me because I'm so thrilled at what I saw at your operation. I was thrilled at what I saw at DMV. Those programs and your teams are all in sync. And when you take people out of that sync, that changes the rhythm. So I don't have a question. I'm just letting you know, and you don't have to tell me about that. I got it. I just want to make sure that you guys do not lose your momentum and everything, because you've got a lot to do in our state for our roads and our operations. And when we're going to do tolls, I'm sure you'll be there too. So all of those things are going to be under your watch. And I just want to make sure your team stays that way. So I just made my speech. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And thank you for the compliments. Our Highway Operations Center is amazing,
Amazing.
and it comes into play in all types of situations, from wrong way drivers, accidents, et cetera. And we work really fabulously with the Connecticut State Police to make sure we're able to respond to motorists on the interstates that are in trouble.
It makes us feel secure, because a lot of us drive late at night because we're at public hearings late at night, and knowing that if something happens, somebody's got their eyes open. So thank you.
All set?
Yep.
Representative Salvastowski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for being here today. There have been some recent news stories about increases in the number of trains on Metro North. Is that something that's already included in this budget?
You want to take it, Gary?
Yeah, I can start, Representative Zawistowski, thank you. And if we need to get in a little bit deeper, I think Mr. Limmer is here, the Bureau Chief of Public Transportation. The budget reinstates the 100% levels of service that were prior to the 23 year. Prior to that time, we were running, I think, at 84%. And so this past year, on 24, that we're currently in this first year of this midterm, by the biennium, we have had a reduction based on the governor's budget and a level of service and a level of funding. And the budget for 25 currently enacted will restore that service to the 100% level. And I will say that within that level of service, we would have always the flexibility to do the right thing within what is 100% level of service, right? We're always making surgical cuts and surgical planning to our services on rail based on ridership, based on need. And we always look at that, whether it's branch lines or main line or whatever, we always take a look at what's going to be the most efficient part of the operation for us with the funding we have in place. So yes, the answer is that it should be bringing this levels of service back to 100%. I will say that we're at a different level than we thought we would have been budget-wise beginning of the year, because some of those cuts took time to make, and they were only for 1 year because the level of funding was here prior to this, and then it was cut for this year, and then it goes back to 100% for July 1st. I would say that the expectation is that we're going to bring the levels of service back to the 100% level that it would be with the constant analysis we do to the certain routes that we have, the certain timelines on the rail.
Yeah, and what would you, were you forecasting on Shoreline East as far as the capacity, and also how much would it cost to bring that back to pre-pandemic levels?
That's a good question. I'm going to say, do we know that number off the top of our head, Mr. Hayes?
I think we'd have to follow up with that.
Yeah, we can get you the number. There is not a planned service level change on Shoreline East in the 25 budget. It's projected to stay exactly where it is now with that level of service. There is a number that we have calculated, obviously, we have in-house, so we can bring that to the work session if you'd like,
Okay,
or
you
we
give-
can
you give
provide
me a
it.
Rough number now? Very rough. We won't hold you to it.
We cut 16 million out of the budget, which was not going to bring it up to full service. So that was only going to bring it up to, I think.
Yeah, I was going to say
Six-
it's probably closer to 20, I think, in just really rough numbers.
Okay.
Understanding that already
Just to
that,
bring it to-
the subsidy that exists on the Shoreline East is already a very high percentage of subsidy because the ridership, is low. But so, which means that when that amount of money to get to 100% is small compared to what those numbers are on, Shoreline East, on Metro North. So if we look at that New Haven line, the numbers to move service are vast, they're huge. But to move it on Shoreline East is not as big a number comparatively.
Yeah, and there's the federal restrictions on the Hartford line as well. How long are the federal restrictions in place for Hartford line?
Forgot now, that was the CMAQ, it was 5. Well, no, because.
I'm not aware of.
Yeah, I don't, is it a federal restriction? I'm not sure
I
that's.
don't believe you can reduce the.
It's
the
a
service
requirement that it
requirement.
stay at 100% because of the federal grant that was.
Well, because because it was supported with federal funds when we did the Hartford line. Yeah, but we've already added service up beyond. I mean, to reduce it below the level that we would have to worry about, we don't think we're ever going to be there.
Yeah, I understand it's pretty robust ridership on that line.
Yep.
So anyway, okay, thank you very much. And thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And can you just bring the numbers for Shoreline East? We're at 16 trains right now, and I think we're about 32 to 34 when it was more robust. And we really haven't given it an opportunity to go back to pre-pandemic levels because we've never had a regular, we have regular trains running at regular times, but not enough to accommodate business. So I know that we are low relative to the number of people using Shoreline East, but it's very important to many legislators. So if we could get that, and thank you for asking that question, Representative Zawistowski. Are there any other questions? Representative?
Thank you, Madam Chair. welcome, guys. Thank you for being here this afternoon. My question is along the lines for the Waterbury line. So when we come to the workshop, I want to know the status of the projects because we invested a lot of money in the Waterbury lines, and I know it's one of the most used lines during COVID and probably continues to be so. So I'd just like to know the status of the Waterbury line as well. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. So can you all, at the work group, we might as well just ask the whole question on the whole gamut of the Danbury lines, the Waterbury lines, all all of the rail systems, Hartford, Shoreline East, where we are, how funded is it? What would it need to be fully funded? And New Haven. And then if you could also bring us the changes that happened on the bus lines, because there was some changes that happened on the bus lines. So if we could have those numbers relatively speaking, and usually we ask where are you in hiring relative to the number of engineers, the number of, we've had more snow than we've ever had. I think the groundhogs lied to us. So personally, I think they lie to us every year, but and I don't think it's right. I know. So if you could bring those numbers too, so we know where you are in your hiring,
I'd be happy
because
to.
we really want to do that. And then my last concern is relative to paying the 500 million down on the debt. Will that in any way impact the work that you are trying to do with the federal funds coming in?
No, we feel very confident that this is a good idea. It's actually something that we've been advocating for since I think it first came up in 2016. We think that the ability to bring down our debt service payments will be more beneficial for the department.
Good.
So we're supportive.
I like paying down the debt. I just want to make sure that we're not putting at jeopardy any programs whatsoever.
No, it will not
Okay.
put any programs
All
in
right.
jeopardy.
Representative Walker? No, I'm good. Representative Zawistowski, anybody online? You guys are all set?
Great, thank you so much.
Yeah.
You all.
Have a good day.
A wonderful
Aye.
weekend.
We got an hour and a half.